Tom Sawyer is a musical from 1973. This is directed by Don Taylor, based, of course, on the stories by Mark Twain, and we have the screenplay by Robert B. Sherman and Richard M. Sherman, which is pretty great. The film itself is fine. I'll talk about the narrative in a moment, but we have some really great performances, including Johnny Whitaker as Tom Sawyer. We also have Jodie Foster as Becky and Jeff East as Huck Finn. And I can't at all compare it to Mark Twain's novel because I haven't read it. And this is, I think, the second time in a couple of months that I'm reviewing a Tom Sawyer film. I think the last one was a Disney film from I watched it a couple of months ago, but it was, I think, another 70s film. In fact, I'm going to check. I lied, it's from 1995. And in that discussion, I also said, I can't compare it, I haven't read the book, and I feel like I need to make the effort. So if you have any thoughts on how this compares, if it's a decent adaptation, if they've taken a lot of creative licenses, please feel free to share. But it's about the adventures of Tom Sawyer primarily, and also Huck Finn, and IMDb says something that happens, but it happens about 40 minutes into it, so I don't really know if I should go into that much detail. I'll just say something dark happens. And this was also in the previous Tom Sawyer film I watched, so I'm assuming this is from the book, and that part of it I liked. We have a courtroom scene that I really thoroughly enjoyed. There are a couple of scenes here and there that I definitely liked, but for the most part, I found it to just be a little bit too chaotic, just a little bit too all over the place for my liking. And on the one hand, for the film, that's not a bad thing. It is this little adventure story where there's a lot going on. We're viewing all of these things through Tom's eyes, and I'll talk about Tom as a character in a moment. And I think they achieved what they set out to do. It's just that in terms of personal preference, this is not my favourite kind of narrative structure. It's a little bit too chaotic. There are too many things happening, and a lot of them don't really get developed as much as I would have liked. So I don't love it, but there were enough moments that I did enjoy that I wouldn't say I was bored. I guess to sum up, I wouldn't watch it a second time, but as a one-time watch, I quite enjoyed it. And I say as a one-time watch, when I sat down to watch this, I was 100% confident that I'd never seen this before. But when I started watching it, there were a few tiny moments that I recognised. Jodie Foster's yellow dress, just the appearance of the character when we first see her, there was something about that I recognised. And there's a scene when the boys are painting this fence, and I really recognised that moment as well. So either I'd seen it before as a child and can only remember teeny tiny bits, or I've maybe just seen clips here and there. But either way, I'm considering this the first time I've seen it, and as a one-time watch, it's not bad. Even though the narrative wasn't amazing for me personally, the characters are great. Tom Sawyer is so likeable. And, well, I'm going to say this is my favourite version of Tom Sawyer, but I've not exactly seen that many. So that might not be a big claim, but nevertheless, I really thoroughly enjoyed Johnny Whitaker's performance here. I thought he was just absolutely fantastic. Everybody did a really great job, and I guess my penultimate point is that visually we have a lot of beautiful scenery. It's filmed in Missouri. I don't know if it's completely filmed in Missouri, but it seems to be one of the key locations. And yeah, there are a lot of gorgeous outdoor scenes. The last point, of course, is about the musical aspect. And there were fewer songs in it than I expected. There are enough that it's fine to call it a musical. It's not one of those where there are maybe 2 numbers and that's it. But I would have liked a few more musical numbers. But that being said, and I love the Sherman Brothers, so I don't like saying this, but I didn't really like the music. It's not that it was bad. It's not that I thought it was badly done or that the songs were annoying or anything. I just never really connected with any of the songs. I wasn't toe-tapping. I wasn't bopping along. I wasn't getting emotional at any of the more moving pieces. I just had no emotional connection to any of the songs, and it's a bit of a shame because I love musicals and I love the Sherman Brothers, and I was expecting something a little bit better in terms of the music itself. But as I said, it's not bad necessarily. I just didn't think the music was very memorable. So that's not great, but nevertheless, I still enjoyed it. The narrative, or at least the narrative structure, may not be completely to my taste, but there were enough elements in it that I still enjoyed the story. The performances were great, characters very well written, Tom Sawyer is brilliant in this, and the music is fine. I wasn't annoyed or anything whenever we had a musical number. I guess I'm just upset that I didn't like the music as much as I'd hoped. And if it sounds like a film that might appeal to you, obviously I'm very happy to recommend it. I would love to know if it's like the book. I know I keep saying I will read it. My mission is to read more of the big classics. I mostly read classic literature, particularly Edwardian literature, but I tend to not read a lot of the big classics, Edwardian or otherwise. I don't know why. maybe I'm scared. For example, I started reading Moby Dick and I didn't like it. And I guess I'm scared that I won't like Tom Sawyer, but there's only one way to find out. So that has to be on my radar at some point. And the film itself, I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty decent. Not perfect, but if it sounds like it would appeal to you, whether you're just interested in the film or if you've read the book and you want to see how it compares, then needless to say, I'm happy to recommend Tom Sawyer.